Another day, another mediocre shot. Tastes pretty good. Work day over. Still playing catch up at work, and I don't think that's gonna end anytime soon because I'm taking another 3 days off next week. But I love having the time off, and this one in particular is gonna be family time, so that'll be really great. So I'll get back and I will deal with the consequences of that. But for now, I'm feeling pretty good. Nothing is on fire. There's always gonna be a couple little things here and there that are less than ideal, but it happens. That's just sort of the nature of the job. We've got a solidly packed afternoon. I'm going to deadlift right now. Today's back day is gonna be pretty short. I'm just gonna hit my deadlift and I'm gonna do some pull-ups, and I think I'm gonna call it after that because I have a PT session scheduled today and I don't want to overdo it. I'm still sort of in a recovery debt right now. So that's the game plan. Keep it short and sweet, sleep good tonight, and then tomorrow go off for my long run and have a bench day. And there's a chance that I might move that bench day to Saturday to coincide with my mountain bike ride. It all just really depends on how I sleep tonight and tomorrow night. So that's the plan. Let's hit the workout.
All right, it was a pretty quick workout today. I just did this deadlift to start out with, warming up. I did the bar and did some RDLs with the bar. I've also been trying to do some mobility work before I do any heavy lifting. So I'm doing these things called hip airplanes, which are these external rotations where you're sort of rolling over the hip socket over the ball joint to try to warm up the glutes. So I started with 135, went up to 245 pounds that I did for 5 reps. This felt really good. It feels really good to be moving some heavier weight around now. I was also really happy looking back at the video at my form on these deadlifts. A problem that I've had in the past is my hips shooting up before, the rest of the movement actually started. And so watching back on these videos, my hips are hinging forward. They're not shooting up before the rest of my body does. So feeling really good about my form as I'm getting into these heavier lifts. My next set here, this was 275 for 3 reps. Again, just feeling really strong, feeling really solid with the bar. You'll notice I'm doing a double overhand grip. I actually do a hook grip, so my thumb is wrapped around the bottom of the bar and I've got my fingers wrapped around it. With a little bit of chalk, that feels really good for me, and I'd rather do that as opposed to a mixed grip just because I don't want to get any weird imbalances. Last set on the deadlift here, this is 310 pounds. In the 5-3-1 program, the goal is to get it for 1 or more reps. And so on this, I managed to go for 2. I thought about going for a 3rd, but didn't want to get greedy here. The second and last exercise for my workout today was some weighted pull-ups. Because I have PT later in the day, I didn't want to add too much intensity into the workout. And because I was lifting heavy, I didn't want to tax my body too much. With the sleep deficit that I've got going this week and just being pretty stressed out from work, I figured it was better just to cut the workout a bit short, but still hit the important things here. So for me, 5 rep range right now is about where I feel comfortable with this added weight. I did 4 sets of 5 reps with 10 pounds around my waist. And I think adding weight to my pull-ups is definitely going to help a lot. I've always had trouble with pull-ups, and so I'm trying different things to improve and just seeing what sort of stimulus will actually work well for me. Right now, I like the idea of adding some weight, so I'm going to stick with it for a little bit and see where it gets me.
PT today went great. I would say I probably only have a couple of more sessions of seeing these guys. I really like coming here. It feels good headspace wise to come to a facility that's all around injury prevention. I sort of feel like I could have PT'd myself from this injury. Maybe that's just my ego talking a little bit, but I've been to PT enough and I know enough about working out that I think I sort of could have figured it out. But really the benefit of PT has been talking to somebody who can clinically assess if I'm ready to move on to more weight. And so the speed has been the thing that the PT has been the most helpful with. Because I think if I was doing it myself, I would be a lot more cautious than what PT affords me to be, because at the PT, they can assess me, they can say, hey, you're ready to move on, or it's okay to add more weight or to add in this type of exercise. You know, things like getting back to squatting with a barbell or deadlifting and how much weight to add, even getting back to jumping and moving side to side. These are all things that would have been a question mark for me that essentially the PT can look at me and assess and say, yes, let's do it. You're ready for the next step. So really appreciative of these guys. My insurance also covers as many visits as they say that I need. And so I can basically just keep going until I'm back to normal. And the guys that I'm working with too are really great. You know, they're of the mindset that whatever is the thing that you want to do, you can get there through exercise, really, and through rehab. You should be able to return back to regular activity. And so part of the session today was really having that conversation. What does your life look like? Is there anything that's still ailing you? And really, you know, daily life, I think if I wasn't the type of person that I was, where the activities that I do are sort of like higher stress or higher risk, if I wasn't that type of person, I would be discharged from PT. I would have been discharged months ago. But because of the type of person that I am and the activities that I'm into, you know, they want to keep me around and basically just make sure that when it's time to go back to skiing, you know, that's really the big one, and rock climbing, that I'm as injury proof as I possibly could be. So I've got another follow-up in a month. We might do one more after that, but in today's assessment, we took some strength benchmarks where they were comparing the left side of my body, which is the injury side, to the right side of my body. And what's cool is, for the most part, I was pretty symmetrical. The test is a bit subjective as well, because the measurement tool requires a bit of balance and some opposing force from the PT. So the numbers I don't really care so much about, but it's more so the consistency between both sides. And I was really, really balanced left to right. But something that I should have known, and something that we learned from doing the testing, is front to back, I am very unbalanced. So what I mean by that is we did a quad extension test, which is basically a static press into a scale. And on both legs, I was pushing around 200 pounds, which they said was pretty great. So I'm stoked on that. Now, on a hamstring curl in a similar fashion, where it's a pull against a static scale, I measured around 60 pounds. And so, you know, what my PT was saying is he's okay with that difference being about 50%. In a perfect world, the number would be the same, but that seems unrealistic. So they're not really aiming for that. 50% is what they're looking for someone who is at a lower risk of injury. You know, the more that number is off, the higher the injury risk. And so my number was about 50 pounds, which is like 25%. So because of that imbalance, I'm just naturally at a higher injury risk. So what that means for me is, on my leg days, I really need to start focusing on a hamstring specific exercise instead of just the RDLs that I've been doing, because the RDLs are definitely more glute focused. So add a hamstring specific exercise to my leg days. And aside from that, I think everything that I'm doing is working really well. So keep on the program. Probably should add in some core, but overall, PT says I'm doing good.
Doing my quick training plan check-in here just to finish out the video. Again, we're on week 3, so this is going to be max mileage before a deload, and then max lifts before a deload as well. Biggest tweak to the week is moving my bench press session to Friday. So tomorrow I will be benching, doing my max lift and a 5-mile run. I slept pretty good this last night, so looking forward to a good night of sleep tonight to make up for the earlier parts of the week where I wasn't doing so hot. Looking forward to a good day on Friday, and then looking forward to some mountain biking on Saturday as well before I go into my deload week. So everything's going according to plan. Looking forward to getting into next week and getting some good recovery in.